Football Manager are now hiring people to go and test their game, potentially test FM26 that is hopefully coming sooner rather than later. In this video today, I'm going to show you the Sega post that is showing that Football Manager is making the right steps, people. They are hiring people to go and test their game. Let's look together and let's read through this Sega post. Here it is, boys, in all of its glory. Under that job tab, Football Manager QA Associate Functionality Tester. The Apply Now button is there under Sega, under the Sega Studio. In the top here, we have a company overview. Sega Center of Excellence Sofia is dedicated to service Sega's development teams in providing quality, timely, and effective QA services. This is where they assist all studios with publishing QA validation functions. We support the needs of the development studios and make the creative vision become a reality. So pretty much under this company of Sega, these are the guys that are making sure that they get the best in terms of testing a game, looking at the quality, the bug fixes, etc. But we're going to get more into that in the video. And here we have the position overview. How would you like to work on the world's leading football management simulation, Football Manager? We're looking for bright and motivated Football Manager enthusiasts to join us on a temporary basis as functionality games testers. So off that bat there, they've used the word functionality. That's how the game plays. That's if any bugs are there, if the UI, pretty much just the day-to-day experience of using the full game. Of course, from this, we could potentially take the full game. There's kind of a version out there already now that they can test. You know, there's a tactics tab, there's a match engine, there's the squad page, there's the transfers, there's the AI. Very, very positive. This position is an excellent opportunity for Football Manager fans and people wanting to make a start in the industry, which is fast-paced, dynamic, and above a lot of fun. Getting the chance to work on Football Manager before launch, you'll be responsible for testing the game to ensure it plays as the developers intended it to and that it's free from any bugs. So straight away from that, ensure as it plays, like I've just mentioned, that match engine. When you make a transfer, is this new feature they've added, is that going to actually take place, or is it going to do what it used to do for the last years? Are we looking at the tactics screen working properly? Do the new roles work in the match engine? And also, very, very big, is that it is free from any bugs. As you can remember, boys, when the game did cancel, Football Manager decided to cancel the game based on the game not being ready to the quality that they wanted. Of course, the quality that they wanted at that time when they cancelled might have been very, very bug heavy. And the fact that this is potentially saying, you know, we're going to have no bugs when the game releases, I think is a big thing for people's mind, because when they release this game, it needs to be the finished product. It needs to wow people. Due to the delay, people need to be playing the game and thinking, yes, this was worth the game getting cancelled. Now, something that we picked up on stream when I first saw this post is that, please note, this is a project-based position, continuing approximately till the late end of March 2026. Now, we can take two things from this as a community. We can see that they're keeping these people hired for a longer period of time because they want to make sure throughout the game's launch, maybe in that first initial months or first 6 months, whatever it is, they don't want any bugs to be there. And if there's something there, they want these people who are qualified people to come and test the game and help them like see these bugs. Or on the other hand, which would be probably the only negative thing I'm going to say in this video, is that if it's till the end of March 2026, does that mean they're going to be testing the game until then? And the game won't be out until March 2026? Listen, I'm just putting it into the atmosphere. I'll let you boys decide what you think on that. But hopefully it isn't that. Hopefully we are not getting a game in March 2026. My angle, which I think it means, is that the game potentially could come out October, November of this year. They are kept on board for 6 months. You know, they test the game in that first 6 months. There might be a lot of new features. There might be a lot of new things that they want to make sure they have people, you know, aligned with and you know, testing out. And hopefully that is what it is. Next up, we've got the key responsibilities of what is going to happen. Follow test scripts in a thorough and consistent manner and apply testing activities to find bugs, identify the severity and risk to the business. Again, just about the bugs. Enter professional, clear and accurate and complete bug descriptions. Basically saying when you find a bug, you're not just going to tell us that my striker's not scoring a one-on-one. You're going to say why, how, who, what could be changed, what the bug actually looks like. Apply exploratory testing techniques through various stages of game development to identify any document bugs or issues. So again, use multiple different techniques. For example, if you're making a transfer, you could try that same transfer thing with 100 players. If there's one issue with one player, then that's a bug. You know what I'm saying? Not just testing someone and just, you know, saying, yeah, it's fine. And for example, a key responsibility like that ties in with what I'm saying about the March 2026. They might want people constantly testing that game and looking for bugs rather than the users finding them. Provide feedback to the development team on the gameplay controls and overall user experience. Now, in my opinion, two of the biggest things that Football Manager needs to focus on this year, I'm actually going to be doing a video, by the way, talking about what I think FM26 needs to succeed, is the gameplay and the user experience. You know, is the user going into the game and they finding it easy to navigate through the tabs for new users and experienced users? The gameplay, does the gameplay look crisp? Is there any, you know, bugs? Does a certain role make a certain player do something that he shouldn't, etc.? I think that's one of the biggest things there, is that the feedback to the development team is crisp, it's concise, it's accurate, and it's also from a Football Manager player's point of view. You know, how a Football Manager player reacts to an animation might be different to how someone who plays FIFA and has had amazing graphics for years would react to something, if that makes sense. One here as well, offer suggestions for improving the gameplay experience. Now this, I'm a bit torn on this, because if it's somebody who's never played Football Manager before, I think having someone employed, hopefully, who has Football Manager experience will understand what FM needs and what FM doesn't. I think it'd be good maybe for potentially content creators to come in at this bit. People who play the game 12 hours plus a day, understand what their communities want and comment about. For example, in my streams, a big thing people talk about is the animations all the time. Obviously, if I went down and helped out test, I could say, well, listen, something from my community they've been asking for a year and hoping to see is new animations, and then I could look at the animations in the game and go, do you know what? That sounds about aligned with what the community are asking for. Other things as well about following instructions effectively and honestly communicating, participating in group-based testing, and any additional requests. So that's basically just saying when you're doing the job, you know, you are doing the job to your 100% capability, which again, I think is very important. You've got to get people in testing this game who I think actually have a little bit of care about the game. As a player or a creator, you've got to have people that actually want the best for the game, not just going down for a fun day at the office and, you know, just testing the game just for something to do on the weekend. I think that also applies in here on this next tab in the knowledge, skills and experience. They want people to have a deep knowledge of football rules, tactics, world clubs, lineups, transfers, seasons, etc. Again, massively important for me is that Football Manager is the most realistic Football Manager simulation game you can find. So I think knowing that, for example, you have pre-contract signings, the tactics that work in the modern era of football, the rules that are coming into football about, you know, there's a new rule coming in apparently where keepers can only hold the ball for 6 seconds and then they've got to release it. Things like this, people that are testing, you know, the most realistic football game should know the most football rules and the most football principles. I think that's very, very big. Underneath that as well, coinciding with it, is familiarity with Football Manager titles is a plus. Now, I just think in general, this should be an actual requirement that you've played the game. I mean, I don't know how they prove that, how you do that in an interview setting, but I think that is very, very important that the people that are coming into this game have knowledge of the game, knowledge of the community, knowledge of how the game has played for the previous 5 years. Like I say, you know, us creators with our communities that we've built, we can get a general idea of what people want to see, what people are most bothered about. You know, maybe bringing in content creators again for that reason is going to be a really big thing. Another one as well here is a keen eye for details and critical thinking. Again, this is the biggest release in Football Manager's history. They've partnered with Unity, of course. They've been working on this Unity project for 5-6 years now. It is literally make or break, I think, for the studio. I think, like you say, the people that you've got to get in are the people that really do care about the future of the studio, the future of the game. Like I say, you could get current players, hardcore players, content creators, but I think it's very, very important that the people who are playing this game are watching it closely and, like I say, care about the experience and the testing that they're going to do. This is a very interesting one. Different game platforms experience would be nice to have, as in PC, Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, Android, iOS. Now, in my opinion, Football Manager are heading for a new market of players, the more younger players. Of course, with them moving to Switch, to console, to iOS, you know, the main players of consoles, iOS and Switch are a younger audience. You know, you're looking at people who are younger. You know, your PC community, you know, it's kind of like a hierarchy in gaming, isn't it? You know, you kind of work your way up from like a PSP when I was younger to an Xbox 360 to an Xbox One, and then eventually you get a PC when you're a bit older and you want to play new games and see good graphics, etc. I think it's very, very important that if they are testing and wanting testers for consoles, Switches, Android, iOS, it does show the kind of direction they're going in. Now, something that makes a positive for me is that something that I want in FM26 is a better user interface, and the fact that they're prioritizing testing on consoles and iOS as well shows that the interface, you know, if you're getting a younger audience, your interface has got to be easy to use and easier to understand, and I think that's a very positive sign. And again, you just have at the bottom here, I'm not going to read through every single one of them, but they're kind of just looking for the right characters as well, you know, high standard of work, helping and assisting, adaptability, willingness, a can-do attitude, clear and concise communication, do you know what I mean, commitment, focus. You can see that what they're looking for, you know, in this post are people, like I've mentioned many times in this video, that do really care about the studio. Now, for example, again, us content creators, we only want what's best for the game. You know, as a content creator, of course you look at your views, of course you look at your followers, your subscribers, you reach across, you know, different places, etc. But the main thing that the game needs is to be a good game. If it's a good game, if it's a revolutionary game, if this Unity partnership goes to the roof, of course it helps content creators as well. You know, the more people playing the game, the more people there is viewing, the more people there is searching. It works hand in hand. So as a creator myself and a player, I'm just looking for a game that's good, because if the game's good, if the game's elite, you know, if it's top, we get more viewers, the game gets more save, you know, it works hand in hand for everyone. And also, creators are players too. You know, I'm a player of the game before a creator. If I didn't like playing the game, I wouldn't be a creator of the game. And for me as a player, I just want to make sure that the people testing this game and giving feedback and, being the, let's say, unbiased opinion are people that do care about the studio. But like I say, boys, this is a very interesting development in the FM26 saga. Of course, we've not heard anything from the studio since the cancellation, and this is the kind of first sort of sign of life that we've had. Of course, it's posted on Sega's website, and it's not on Football Manager's website or their socials, but it is a big stage in the development. Of course, Sega as well, if you read, they see Football Manager as their big project for this year, and they are kind of back in the studio, which shows as well with them getting testers in, and I think it's very, very good, and it's a very good sign for what's to come. Of course, playing devil's advocate, if I scroll down, the only worrying thing I would say is this here, the March 2026, but we could just be looking at it and thinking the worst. It could be that they just want testers throughout that first release. Of course, with it being such a big project, there probably still will be bugs on release day and things that people find that, a bunch of testers might not be able to. If they hire 10 testers, when the game releases and you've got tens of millions of players, it's more likely that a scenario pops up in that tens of million rather than that 10. So, maybe I'm just thinking the worst, but hopefully that's what it means, and it doesn't mean the game's coming out in March next year. But yeah, boys, that's just a quick video just going through that website and, that post by Sega. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like I said, I think it's very positive that we're getting some sort of news, some sign of life. Of course, after not having anything, and obviously Sports Interactive communication's another topic for another day. It is abysmal. But yeah, like I said, boys, let me know what you think in the comments. That is Sega announcing that Football Manager testers are coming. Potentially a game is there, a beta version is there. It's positive news, lads. I'll see you on the next Football Manager video.